Good morning. If you are watching this right now, it means I survived today. Honestly, around 2 in the afternoon, I was not entirely sure that would happen. Look at this room. It looks peaceful right now, does it not? The morning light is coming through the blinds, soft, golden, quiet. The kettle is on the stove, making that gentle humming sound. But do not let this calm frame fool you. Today was supposed to be a textbook day, a clean, predictable, productive day. I had the to-do list written out, I had my morning plan down to the minute, and then life decided to do what life always does. It completely ignored my schedule. So grab a warm cup of coffee or tea or whatever you like to drink, sit down with me. Let me tell you about what happens when a normal routine completely falls apart and why that might actually be the best part of the day. 6 in the morning, that was when the alarm went off. I did not hit snooze today. I actually sat up immediately. I looked at the ceiling, took a deep breath, and thought to myself, today is going to be different. Today, I am going to be disciplined. You know that feeling, right? When you wake up and for the first 10 minutes, you feel like you have your entire life figured out. You tell yourself that you are going to eat clean, answer every single email within 5 minutes, finish your work early, and go to bed by 10. It is such a beautiful illusion. I pushed the blanket aside. The floor was cold against my bare feet. I walked into the kitchen, turned on the tap, and filled the kettle. While the water was heating, I opened the cabinet to get my coffee beans. There is something really grounding about grinding coffee by hand. The sound of the grinder, the smell of fresh coffee filling the kitchen. It is the only part of my morning where my brain is not racing. It is just me, the counter, and the aroma of roasted beans. I poured the hot water slowly, watching the steam rise against the cold window glass. Outside, the street was barely waking up. A few cars passed by. A stray dog was walking down the sidewalk, minding its own business. Everything felt quiet. Everything felt controlled. I sat down at my desk with the hot mug in my hand. I opened my planner. 4 main tasks for today, just 4. Finish a major report, drop off a package at the post office, do a quick grocery run, and record this vlog. It sounded so easy. It sounded completely manageable. By 8 in the morning, I had already finished my coffee. I sat down in front of the laptop. The goal was simple: get 2 solid hours of focused work done before stepping out. I put on my headphones. No music with words, just ambient rain sounds to keep me focused. My fingers were flying on the keyboard. For the first false hour, everything went smoothly. Paragraph after paragraph, page after page. I was feeling proud of myself. I even thought, wow, look at me, being a responsible adult who actually follows a schedule. And right on cue, at 9:15, the first crack appeared in the day. I reached for my glass of water. I did not look. My elbow caught the edge of the glass. In slow motion, I watched the water tip over. It did not spill on the floor. Of course not. That would be too convenient. It spilled directly across my notebook, my charging cable, and the corner of my external hard drive. Panic, pure panic. I jumped out of my chair so fast that the wheels hit the wall with a loud bang. I grabbed the nearest towel from the rack and started dabbing furiously. You know that specific sound your heart makes when you think you just destroyed all your work? That rapid, loud thumping in your chest? That was me for 5 solid minutes. I unplugged everything. I dried the desk. Luckily, the laptop survived. The notebook, however, looked like it had been through a monsoon. All my neatly written notes smudged into blue and black puddles of ink. I stood there in the middle of the room, holding a damp towel, staring at the mess. I had 2 choices. I could let it ruin my mood, or I could laugh it off, clean it up, and keep moving. I took a deep breath. I laughed. It was a slightly hysterical laugh, but it helped. Life happens. Spills happen. It is just water. I spent 20 minutes cleaning up, resetting my desk, and rewriting the notes on fresh paper. By the time I sat back down, it was already 10. My smooth morning timeline was already slipping away. But I told myself it was fine. We can adjust. We are flexible people. By 11, I finally wrapped up the draft. My eyes were burning from staring at the screen. My stomach was starting to make those strange, loud noises that remind you breakfast was 4 hours ago. I decided it was time to step out, mail the package, and pick up something quick to eat. I threw on an oversized jacket, grabbed my tote bag, and picked up the package from the table. I checked my pockets. Phone, yes. Wallet, yes. Keys. Where were the keys? This is where the real adventure began. I patted my right pocket, empty. I patted my left pocket, just a crumpled receipt from 3 days ago. I checked the small tray by the front door where the keys are always supposed to live. Nothing, just dust and an old coin. I set the package down. I checked the kitchen counter, not there. I checked the bathroom shelf, not there. I looked under the sofa cushions. I found a pen, a hair tie, and 5 crumbs of toast, but no keys. My mind started playing back every single move I had made since yesterday evening. Did I leave them in my coat? No. Did I drop them in the hallway? No. 20 minutes went by. Then 30. The apartment, which had been clean and tidy an hour ago, was slowly turning into a disaster zone. Pillows on the floor, drawer doors hanging open, jackets strewn across the bed. If someone had walked into my room right then, they would have thought I had been robbed. But no, it was just me robbing myself of my own sanity over a piece of metal on a keychain. And then, as I knelt on the floor looking under the bed with my phone flashlight, I heard a sharp thud from the front door. The draft from the open balcony window had caught the heavy front door. It swung shut. Click. I froze. I stayed on my hands and knees, staring into the dark space under my bed, processing what had just happened. The front door of my apartment locks automatically from the outside. If I was inside, it was fine. But the package was inside, my shoes were on, and I had left the balcony door wide open, creating a wind tunnel. I stood up, walked slowly to the door, and turned the handle. Locked, of course. Then I looked down at the floor near the shoe rack. Right there, half hidden under the edge of my running shoes, was the key ring. The silver metal caught the light, practically winking at me. It had fallen off the counter when I grabbed my jacket earlier. I stood there alone in the hallway, looking at the keys on the floor, and I just shook my head. You cannot make this up. If you write this in a movie, people will say it is too cliché. But on a Tuesday morning, when you are already hungry and behind on your tasks, it is pure, unscripted reality. I picked up the keys, shoved them deep into my pocket, grabbed the package, unlocked the door, and stepped outside. The moment I walked out of the building, the cool air hit my face. It felt so good. After an hour of sweating and tearing my room apart, the brisk autumn breeze was an instant reset button. The sky was not clear blue. It was that soft, milky gray color that makes the whole city look like an old photograph. I started walking toward the post office. It is about a 15-minute walk from my place, down a street lined with small bakeries, repair shops, and old residential buildings. I walk down this street almost every single day, but usually I am looking down at my phone. Today, because I was already late and my schedule was already broken, I decided not to rush. What was the point? The morning was already off track. Rushing now would only make me more anxious. So I looked up. I noticed a small flower shop on the corner. The florist, an elderly man with thick glasses and a green apron, was carefully trimming the stems of yellow chrysanthemums. He was humming to himself, completely lost in his work. A mother was walking with her toddler, who was fascinated by a puddle on the pavement, stamping his tiny yellow boots into the muddy water and giggling every single time. How often do we miss these tiny, beautiful moments because we are too busy trying to keep up with an imaginary timeline in our heads? We spend so much energy worrying about being 30 minutes behind on our tasks, while the world around us is just existing, breathing, moving at its own steady pace. I reached the post office. The bell above the door jingled as I pushed it open. There was a line. Of course, there was a line. 6 people ahead of me, all holding brown envelopes and taped boxes. A ceiling fan was spinning slowly above, making a rhythmic clicking noise. The clerk behind the glass was moving with the calm, unbothered speed of someone who has seen thousands of packages and will see thousands more. I stood in line. Usually, this is the part where my patience runs thin. I would pull out my phone, scroll through endless social media feeds, check notifications that do not matter, and get frustrated with every passing minute. But today I kept my phone in my pocket. I listened, I watched. In front of me, an older woman was trying to mail a box of homemade cookies to her grandson who was studying in another city. She was worried the box would get crushed. She was explaining to the postal worker how carefully she had wrapped each cookie in wax paper. The clerk, who looked tired and overworked, softened up. He smiled, pulled out a large roll of fragile tape, and wrapped the entire box 3 times until it looked like a shiny brown mummy. The woman smiled, her eyes crinkling at the edges. That small interaction took an extra 5 minutes, but nobody in line complained. We all just stood there watching this tiny act of human kindness between two total strangers. It reminded me why I love living in a neighborhood with real people, real conversations, and real warmth. It is not something you can measure on a productivity app, but it adds so much color to an ordinary day. When it was finally my turn, I handed over my package, paid the fee, and took my receipt. The clock on the post office wall said 12:45. My stomach gave another loud rumble. It was officially past lunchtime. Instead of going to the supermarket and rushing back home to cook something quick, I decided to break another rule. I decided to sit down at a small corner cafe nearby. It is a tiny place with only 4 small wooden tables and an old espresso machine that groans every time it pulls a shot. I walked in and took the table by the window. The smell of toasted bread, garlic, and freshly brewed coffee was heavenly. I ordered a simple bowl of vegetable soup and a warm